Hello, everyone. This is Richard Carethel from Agility PR Solutions, and welcome to PR Profiles, a video series and podcast where we chat with experts in the PR and communications industry. We think PR is the most formidable, dynamic, and rewarding field there is. And we wanted to introduce you to some of our favorite powerhouses in the industry. And today we're speaking with Darryl E. Owens. He's the Associate Vice President of Communications and Engagement at Beacon College. Hi, Darryl.
Hey, Richard, good to be here.
Absolutely great to have you. Thank you. Now, tell us a little bit about yourself, first of all, and your role over at Beacon College.
Sure. Richard, I'm a recovering journalist who spent 25 years as a feature writer, Metro columnist, and editorial board member for the Orlando Sentinel. I started at Beacon College in January of 2016 as the Director of Communication. And in July, I was promoted to Associate Vice President of Communications and Engagement. At Beacon, I oversee internal and external communications, social media, our website, publications, video production, and our external engagement efforts, including our Beacon Salon speaker series and symposiums.
Oh, that's very great. Cool. Thanks, Darryl, and congratulations on your recent promotion.
Thank you, Richard.
Wonderful news. All right, now this is a bit of a quick fire session, so I'm just going to jump right in with the first question here. Now, what were some of the skills you learned in your career as a journalist that set you up to become the Director of Communications at Beacon College? Was there a learning curve? Did you find you were missing any skills?
Yeah, I think many of the skills that makes one successful as a journalist translate to roles as communications professionals. Foremost, the ability to write is a valuable skill in any role as a communicator. And frankly, I think it's an undervalued skill in today's society. Research is the first letter in the RPI process, and certainly journalists are trained in that craft. As a feature writer, I learned the fine art of storytelling, and that is at the heart of what we communicators do. I think journalists, particularly beat reporters, must learn how to build relationships to be able to create information conduit for crafting their news stories. And so relationship building carries over. And I think there are many other things, if not necessarily skills, such as understanding the importance of honoring deadlines that are also pluses when you transfer from journalism to public relations. When I started at Beacon, I had never served as a communications director before. So there was a bit of a learning curve there because I had to basically learn from the ground up how to do this job. I knew the contours of what needed to be done. And I think I had good instincts, but there was something of a learning curve from A to Z, if you will, of public relations, practices and tactics. So what I did, I guess I helped backfill those holes by joining the local chapter of the Florida Public Relations Association and making connections there. Competing in local and state public relations contests, which helped me to learn the PR ropes and how to measure and evaluate campaign outcomes beyond whether my article generated a letter to the editor or a corrupt politician was ousted. And I also learned cool acronyms like RPI, and the learning continues.
There you go. Fascinating. Kind of cool how journalism teaches you a thing or two along the way, huh? About deadlines and writing and stuff like that. And I agree with you about research, storytelling, all those aspects that carry over pretty well into a communications type of job. So, all right, Darryl, thanks a lot. Now, there are a lot of varying ideas out there on how to effectively pitch stories to our friends in the media. Now, as a former journalist, do you have any insider advice for PR pros on how to build mutually beneficial relationships like those you mentioned with journalists and producers, and how to get their brand or client stories placed?
Yeah, I have a few thoughts. I guess I would preface it by saying the journalism world has changed in many ways, not for the better, since I last set foot in a newsroom 6 years ago. Okay. But I think this advice probably still holds up. As a PR professional, you have to put in some effort. When you have a story to pitch, you need to do your research so that you know which reporter or reporters cover the topic you wish to pitch. Going back to my experience, few things tick off a reporter more than receiving pitches that waste our time because the subjects aren't even remotely related to our beats. So if you take the time to do the research, this will help you steer clear of carpet bombing the newsroom with blanket emails, which is another pet peeve of journalists. So you want your pitches to align with your audience. And also once you've identified the proper reporters, to start nurturing a relationship, I think it's a good idea to look them up on social media and start sharing and engaging with their content because number one, that allows them to see who you are, that you're out there and that you're actually reading what they put out. And it also gives you a leg up when you're crafting the pitch because you're now becoming familiar with what this reporter writes, the kinds of topics that interest that reporter. And so you're better able to fine tune the pitch to make it personalized. I think when you're writing your pitch, it's important to nail your angle. With newsrooms dwindling and reporters responsible for more expansive coverage areas, because they have to pick up the slack, you want to make sure that you help the reporter out by defining the angle, and it helps make their jobs easier. I mean, I guess a recent example in my world happened this spring during the earlier parts of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Beacon College's president and his wife, who is Ukrainian, ventured overseas to rescue her nieces and nephew who were refugees during the war. And I, put together a press release, a new media alert. And the headline on it was, Ukrainian-born Beacon College psychologist available to discuss her rescue of her Ukrainian kin. And that was catnip to several Orlando TV outlets. We were talking earlier about personalizing the pitch. So again, follow the person on social media, get to be familiar with them. That way you're building this virtual relationship that will help you to be able to leverage that when you start pitching that particular reporter. And I think one other thing you might consider, and this is something I do quite often, is that I have built some lasting relationships with journalists by responding regularly to ProfNet and Help a Reporter Out requests. Now, these are platforms where reporters are seeking expert insight for articles that they're writing. And so I monitor these regularly. And when you start providing them with quality experts who honor deadlines, they have a tendency to come back for more on similar subjects. In fact, out of the blue, I've had reporters that I've served in this fashion say, hey, what about this topic? Do you have someone who can do that? So that's, a great way to start building relationships by helping people who are coming to you.
I totally agree with all that advice. The personalization is certainly key. And, in a way, honing in on the angle for the reporter is another form of personalization that shows at least that you're familiar with that reporter's approach to the way they write stories. That's a very important piece of that. Fabulous. And I've got to echo ProfNet and Harrow, what terrific tools they are. All right. Thank you, Darryl. Now, you're the creator and executive producer of A World of Difference, a Telly and Anthem award-winning TV show produced by Beacon College that celebrates and empowers families raising neurodivergent children, which I know is a specialty over there, those with learning disabilities and differences. Now, can you tell us how you developed the concept and launched the TV show and got word out about your programming?
Absolutely. The concept came together in the spring of 2020. The college where we, as you pointed out, educate neurodivergent students and have been doing so for 3 decades, was looking for a way to establish ourselves better as a thought leader in the learning disability space. And I had this idea about creating a television show and that would do just that by focusing and empowering and supporting these neurodiverse families. And after conducting some content analysis and some primary quantitative research, I learned that not only does television lack neurodivergent focused programming that supports real life families and their journeys, but these families hungered for such content. And so backed by that research, I started developing a cross-platform TV show that would reach potential Beacon prospects across digital touch points, boost Beacon's exposure locally and nationally, and position the college as a learning disabilities thought leader. And also, of course, provide value to families, rather, by sharing the college's expertise in nurturing successful, independent, neurodivergent adults. So I began working on the show in April of 2020. I conceived the title, A World of Difference, which is a play on words as the vehicle to convey a triple message that we wanted to convey, which is Beacon's college's expert advice can make a world of difference in your family's life, that there is a world of difference between the support that a neurotypical and a neurodivergent kid needs to be successful, and finally, that learning differences are global. And that was one thing we wanted to impart, that learning differences do not stop at the United States border, that all over the world, people are dealing with these same issues. And, we wanted to provide the same kind of support to them as we provide our students at Beacon College. So what I came up with, again, going back to my journalist background, was a news magazine format. And each episode has 3 segments. One called Family Matters, where we profile real families who are confronting these issues, and Ask the Experts segment, which is essentially a panel discussion featuring learning disability experts, including some from Beacon College. And then my favorite segment of the show is called Difference Makers. And Difference Makers is a profile of someone who is famous and or successful, who has a learning difference. We've named, it's an actual award we present, and we've named such people as Shark Tank's Damon John as a difference maker, Dr. Temple Grandin, and other famous people like that who are living with learning differences and thriving. So working with a shoestring budget, and I forgot to mention, we're a nonprofit, so shoestring is the way we go. On LinkedIn, I found and recruited a former Orlando television news reporter who had left the business, and she became the show's lone correspondent. When we launched the show, we contracted with a local public access television station, Lakefront TV, to film and to air the show. I scripted episodes, I booked experts, I found families in Facebook learning disability groups, and I approached potential difference makers. And Lakefront premiered A World of Difference on August 2nd, 2020. And to promote the program, I sent out news releases to generate positive media coverage before and after the program's debut, which generated a handful of local stories. I included episodes in our monthly Lighting the Path newsletter, and I enlisted national and international learning difference celebrities as difference makers, and provided episodes on Facebook and YouTube, and boosted posts to drive through plays on Facebook. And we also posted the show content in neurodiverse Facebook affinity groups.
I see. That's very interesting. And what a great initiative. And boy, it's kind of funny how you blink your eyes and suddenly you're back in the media industry, huh? At the same time. That's pretty great. That's pretty great. And, the initiative at Beacon College overall, the mission, I should say, over there is really rewarding and appreciated, I know. And to bring a show like that out and bring some attention to some of those folks that are kind of driving that mission, terrific. That's a fantastic initiative. Very impressive, Darryl. Now, let's see. One of the things that many PR practitioners enjoy about their jobs is no 2 days are alike. Is that this? Would we say that's the same for you? And how does that differ from being in the media for you? How might a day at your position play out?
Yeah, so I think you're exactly right, and I do enjoy the variety. As for our day as an associate vice president at Beacon College may play out, I can only speak to my experience of being an AVP, of course, and serving a unique institution like Beacon College as a one-person comms department for a 500 student nonprofit private school likely won't mirror many others serving in this role. But to give you an example, I guess just last week, I started today managing the production of a suicide prevention video for our counseling team by communicating with the vendor on the status of the storyboarding and animation process. From there, I jumped into uploading a sizzle reel into Beacon social media that was promoting season 3 of A World of Difference, and then buying some boosted ads to circulate that sizzle reel into the neurodiversity affinity defined groups here in Central Florida that we were targeting. After that, I created a poster that I shared in a series of local Facebook groups that I've defined that is promoting the opening event of our Beacon Salon Speaker Series, which kicks off September 3rd and features NPR TV critic Eric Deegans. So later, I edited a copy for an opinion feature that one of our professors has in the Orlando Sentinel. It's a standing weekly feature where she contributes her opinions on local matters. So I edited that for her. And then I connected our Dean of the Center for Student Success with a writer from Higher Education Dive publication that produced a featured Q&A looking at how schools and parents can better serve neurodiverse students. So that was some of the things, among others, I did that day. So yeah, that's kind of a atypical day.
That's great. And I'm sure almost all our listeners can relate to that, because that's the beauty of PR. Every day is different and every position is different, and every client you take on, everybody has their own ways of doing things and all that. So that's wonderful. And I'm sure that keeps things interesting and maybe gives you an extra boost to jump out of bed in the morning. So
absolutely.
All right, Darryl. Fantastic. Okay, now let me ask you this. What's a common myth about PR that you'd like to debunk in your experience?
Well, I think the myth would be that for a journalist switching fields to public relations, that it's akin to going to the dark side, Luke. The fact of the matter is, as someone wiser than me once put it, public relations is suffering from bad PR. Public relations gets a bad rap often because businesses and corporations only use it for crisis communications, which leaves PR stuck in the spin cycle trying to launder dirty laundry. But in the end, I think both journalists and public relations practitioners are trying to capture audiences with compelling stories. And that's the bottom line in PR as far as I see it.
Yeah, that's great, and that's a great way to say it about the dark side, because that is a definite myth, and I agree that it's an interesting step forward in many aspects, moving from one to the other. So that's very well said. Thank you, Darryl. Now let's see, what's something you're really excited about right now, either personally or professionally?
Well, I guess I would probably need to circle back to A World of Difference. What I'm really excited about is that on September 3rd, the show that began on public access television and last year moved to an Orlando cable channel will be moving yet again in season 3, but this time to PBS. The show is going to be available in Central Florida on local affiliate WUCF television, but it will be available nationally via the PBS website and the PBS app on your favorite streaming device. So I'm stoked that the show will be able to reach more households than ever with expert advice and inspirational and aspirational storytelling.
Well, that is fantastic news, and congratulations on that. Nice to keep those shows moving up and getting more visibility, especially one that serves a real purpose like yours. So, Darryl, congratulations
Thank you,
All right,
Richard.
now, yeah, sure thing. Now, what advice would you give to students or to people that are just starting out in PR?
Well, the first tip would be get involved. You need to get actively involved with public relations as soon as possible. And I guess let me give you a real life example. Just a couple of weeks ago, I attended the annual Florida Public Relations Association convention, and I sat at the table with my chapter president, Nancy Schwartz, and her daughter, Acadia Schwartz. And Acadia is a student at the University of Florida, and she became a founding member of the Florida Public Relations Association student chapter at the University of Florida, and she's currently serving as president. She's been actively building relationships. She's collecting mentors. She's gaining experience with internships, and she's winning awards. At that convention, a project that she helped lead earned a statewide PR award of distinction for social media. So she's getting involved early and often, and that speaks volumes for a potentially successful PR career for her. So that's the first tip. I guess circling back to what I just said about Acadia, get experience, because I would advise any public relations student to gain as much real world experience as possible. You don't want to wait until your senior year to vie for internships or employment. And please, please do not graduate without ever having added one such experience on your resume. I have had that happen as I've been trying to employ someone recently to fill out my team, and I get resumes in where they have done absolutely nothing. I've even worked at Wendy's or McDonald's. So get yourself some real experience before you get out of college. And I guess the third thing I would say is get better at writing. Don't skimp time on shoring up your writing skills, because again, I believe it's an undervalued skill that can help you to stand out when it comes time to compete with everybody else who has a PR degree on their resume.
Those are fantastic pieces of advice there. Get involved, get some experience, and absolutely become a better writer. I hate to see the attitude that some take that's kind of a dying art that may be unnecessary in the future, because I do not believe that will ever be the case. Great advice, Darryl. Thank you so much. So finally, now, how can people connect with you?
Sure. Anyone who cares to reach out can contact me via email at dowens@beaconcollege.edu. You can also contact me via LinkedIn. I'm listed as Darryl E. Owens.
All right, Darryl, that's wonderful. Thank you. All right, and that's all the time we have, everybody. Again, we've been chatting with Darryl E. Owens. He's the Associate Vice President of Communications and Engagement at Beacon College. So thanks for joining us today, Darryl. It's been a pleasure.
It's been my pleasure, Richard. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. All right, we hope you enjoyed this episode of PR Profiles, brought to you by Agility PR Solutions. You can check out our website, agilitypr.com, for a library of free resources, including ebooks and webinars to boost your PR and communication skills. I'm Richard Carrollfeld with Agility, and thanks again for joining us. We'll see you on the next episode.